Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to RV Daydream. And it's a heat wave outside. Not really, but 23 degrees after negative 23-degree wind chills, and even more than that. It definitely feels like a heat wave. Let's go talk about trucks.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
So, as a lot of you viewers know, we've upgraded our old truck into a new truck. A lot of people had their own thoughts on that, telling me that it was a huge mistake. I'm telling you, so far, I haven't found any mistakes about it, but that's your feelings about it. I love those old body style trucks, but I just didn't want to be out traveling the country without a garage, with limited tools, with a truck that had 185,000 miles on it. Plus, it didn't have four-wheel drive. And if you guys saw what happened to Quartzsite just recently, with all the people that went down there, they had quite a bit of rain and they had a lot of road washout. So four-wheel drive would have been a necessity in some of those locations because a lot of people had to get pulled out because they were stuck. Anyways, that's one of the reasons we got into the new truck. Now, a lot of people also commented at the same time how with the trailer that we had, or have, which is a small 1992 Terry travel trailer that we've completely refurbished. If you guys haven't checked out that video on that, we'll go ahead and put a link down below here and a card up above, one or the other. Just click that. You can go watch that video. It shows basically what the trailer looked like and what we did to fix it up. And we had intentions of keeping it, but like everything else, our plans are fluid and things change. So even though that trailer was only about 6,000 pounds fully loaded with everything we could possibly fit in there, we never really reached that number. We used to travel around, most of the time we weighed around 5,500 to 5,700 pounds. And the trailer was only 24 foot long. It was very easily manageable with that old 97 F250. It was actually manageable with our old 95 F150. It just, the F150, whenever I loaded it up with firewood and stuff like that, it would actually go over a gross combined vehicle weight rating. And that's something you guys got to be concerned with. Definitely pay attention to that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube talking about it, but you got to know what both your truck and trailer, when they're both loaded with people and fuel and stuff, you need to know what all that stuff weighs together and then see what your truck's rated to carry. Getting back to the old RV, even though the old 97 F250 handled it fine, we needed to get into something newer because we knew that there was potentially the chance of us getting into a bigger travel trailer, which right now we have on order, a new travel trailer. If you guys haven't checked out that video, I'll put a link up above for that. Click that, it'll take you to it. You can look at what we got and our thoughts on it. As far as our new truck, pulling the new RV, it's going to be fun. It's going to be something that the truck is easily going to handle. But a lot of people have said, well, why'd you even bother? You could have got an F150, a new F150, and that would have handled it. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I have a new F150, and after driving it, it completely brings back a scenario that I had whenever we had our old F150. It just didn't feel that good. It didn't feel comfortable. I didn't like it. I could just, seat of the pants, tell that things were just a little bit unsafe. So that's when we went into the 97 F250, and immediately all those feelings of dread went away. I mean, as soon as I hooked up the trailer the first time, took it for a drive, I was like, this is incredible. I can't believe how much better it is. Fast forward, and I want to show you the truck we got now, and I want to talk about the way this thing feels. So this is a 2018 F150, and it is a four-wheel drive. You can see this one's a crew cab and a short bed. Now my new F250 is a super cab long bed, but I don't need a crew cab. That's why we got a super cab. But this one here, it's a loaner. I've got my F250 in for some PCM upgrades, and they're also looking at a noise that whenever I was at -8 degrees Fahrenheit, when I started it up and it was cold, there was a little bit of a noise coming from the serpentine belt, and they believe it's an idler. But in the meantime, they gave me this one as a loaner. So let's go ahead and talk about my thoughts as far as the drive on this and how that would compare to the F250 that I just got, because this only has 1,400 miles on it. So it's really comparable to my truck, which now has 2,400 miles on it. And I can tell you right away, huge difference between the two. and those differences may not all be great, especially when towing a trailer. So this one here has a 5-liter Coyote engine in it, and it puts out a decent amount of horsepower and torque. I love the fact that it's a real V8. Those twin turbo engines are unbelievable with their horsepower and their torque ratings, but I like the fact that I can look in here and get an idea of what the engine actually looks like. I mean, I can see things that I can recognize, and it looks like that it's relatively easy to work on compared to what those little twin turbo engines are. I mean, there's just so much more plumbing involved with them. But the fact that it has a V8, again, makes me feel more comfortable, but there's still some things that definitely make me wanting my F250 back. So I have you guys set up as a passenger, and one of the things I want you to realize is how soft the truck is. It's a soft ride, and it makes me want my old truck back, because I know all this softness translates into less of a tow feel, because everything that this truck is doing to the suspension that allows the suspension to flex and move and articulate in a nice soft manner just becomes that much more softer and that much more pliable whenever you put a trailer or a load on it. Now, as far as weight distribution, that's to help with the placement of the weight on the truck and the trailer and make it to where it's equal. However, you still have tongue weight. You're still going to have weight that's applied to the truck overall. And when towing, all that is also transferred whenever you're going around corners. Your truck is going to be pushed and twisted by that trailer back there to make it to where it's wanting to push down on the suspension. And I can tell you that this truck has such a car ride-like quality. It's definitely something that would be noticeable whenever you put an 8,000-pound trailer on here. Now, I know that there's a couple YouTubers that say stay under 6,000 pounds. I'm going to have to agree with that. I don't necessarily full-heartedly agree with a lot of people, but 6,000 pounds for these trucks, even though the manufacturer says you can do way more, that is a very, very good statement. And the funny part is, it hasn't changed, because my old 95 F150, it did have a rating of 6,000 pounds. And when I got close to it, it just didn't feel comfortable. It would do the job, but it wouldn't feel comfortable. So here we are in basically a version of what that 95 F150 was. And since I compared my 97 F250, the old body style F250, with my new F250, I thought it'd be only just to compare this one with my old 95 F150. And I can tell you that this is a vehicle I would love to drive every day. The gas mileage is incredible. On the way back from the dealer, I was getting 22 miles to the gallon, just basically rural driving, 55-mile-per-hour roads with a little bit of city mixed in. And as far as it's stopping and going, the only thing I don't like is this automatic start-stop, which you can override like I just did there. But handling-wise, there's no way I'd want to pull an RV. And if I did, it's got to be under 6,000 pounds. Again, all these bumps, if you were to ride and we would be shooting this video in my new truck, we would be feeling it, definitely, because it is a much stiffer suspension, and there's a reason why. Now, as far as anything under 6,000 pounds, I think this is an exceptional vehicle to do that with. And I'm not saying just this engine combination either. I'm talking about even the 3.5 twin turbo. I'm talking about the 2.7 twin turbo, both of those being EcoBoost. And of course this and the EcoDiesel. Those all three of them, all four of them, also including this one, they are definitely trucks that I think that the suspension, because they're made so soft, you need to keep it under 6,000 pounds. I don't think that there's any reason why you can't get into an F250 if you're towing. Yes, the gas mileage is not even close to this one. And on that same note, the towing of that F250 This F-150 isn't even close to that. So there's a trade-off. Yes, if you're towing a lot and you're towing 6,000 pounds or more, it's almost a definite yes, go get the F-250. Definitely. Don't even think about it. Just go do it. You're going to feel so much better and be so much more safer. If you're towing under 6,000 pounds, then the F-150 becomes a logical choice, and you're still going to feel a difference in the ride quality, but it's going to be much more safer. Now, as far as characteristics between the F-250 and the F-150, just driving it every day, that kind of thing, like we are right now without towing, I would love to have this truck over my F-250. But knowing that I got to tow at some point makes me kind of dread this one. This one here is so much easier to deal with in traffic. All these little bumps, this truck's just kind of absorbing. And I mean, we are in Northeast Ohio after a hard freeze, and this thing's just gliding right over. The old truck, it would be pretty jarring. As far as the 10-speed transmission versus the 6-speed transmission, man, I would love to have a really nice beefed up 10-speed in my new F-250. I love those extra gears. Whenever you're accelerating with this one, it just feels so smooth. Now, I know the camera's moving around quite a bit here, but this road's really bad in this area. Matter of fact, there's a huge hole I'm going to end up driving through. Oh, two of them. There's a couple over there too. But as far as the ability of this truck with its transmission to find the right gear, I find sometimes it's in between gears and it hunts a little bit and it likes to bounce around. That I don't care for, but I love having all those gears, and just a little inconvenience of feeling some weird shift searching going on is a minor inconvenience. And the other thing that I'll have to tell you is that, yeah, there we go, we went through that bump. The other thing that I can tell you about the 10-speed is it just feels like it's one gear. It's just constantly pulling one gear, which I'm amazed about. It's just really nice to feel. The other thing I want to include on this transmission, this truck only has 1,400 miles on it, so there's still a lot of learning that's being done, because the computer will learn and adjust a lot of features on the truck as you drive it. And it will put in, it's adaptive learning. It will put in a lot of parameters to help itself out. But as far as in the future, going down the road, the 10-speed, even though it will be smoothed out, there's still a lot more gears there, and it probably will still hunt in a couple of situations. The other thing that I don't care for in this truck compared to my new F-250 is the steering feel on this is weird. It's the only way I can describe it, and I'm going to give you an example that you might understand. Have you ever driven down the road and you've gone over a little hump in the road? And I'm talking like where maybe a bridge overpass, you know, you're on a bridge and you're going over something, and it's just a little rural bridge, but you're traveling at such a speed that you kind of lose your stomach a little bit. Kind of got a little bit of a roller coaster feel there. Well, whenever you do that in a vehicle and you're going over some sort of a rise, that the vehicle suspension unloads a little bit, especially on the front end. The steering gets just a little bit of light, you know, just lightens up just slightly whenever you go over that little hump. Well, that's what's going on with this one at all kinds of speeds. I'll be driving along and the steering will feel really tight and really secure. And then all of a sudden it's like it just kind of cuts loose for a second. It just gets a little bit light and nimble, and it's an unsettling feeling. I don't care for that. It's something that I'm sure that they can dial in a little bit better, and they've done it to make it more convenient for drivers, because this is a drive-by-wire. You know, you're not directly connected necessarily with your steering. There's a lot of electrical input going on and sensing going on, and it's adjusting the way that the steering feels. Well, I don't like it. I don't like the way it is. Now, the new F250, you know, that's a much more firm steering, and it stays the same across the board. It's not hard to steer or anything like that. It just feels better in the hand. Now, one thing I'll have to say is maybe I should have upgraded the F250 to this package as far as the interior is concerned, because I kind of like this big console. I'm getting used to it, I didn't think that I would like it, but now that I've got it in here, I definitely am getting used to it, and I'm definitely liking it. And the other thing is the steering wheel itself is leather wrapped or some kind of a fake leather, and boy, does it feel good in the hands. Also, heated seats. I hope that we get out of this weather, we don't have to think about heated seats, but these heated seats are really nice in this truck. Other than that, I don't see a lot of things that makes me want to jump into this truck and these features because I got my truck, my F250, for a pretty good deal, and this truck is definitely more than that. The crew cab, again, you know, sitting in the driver's seat, the crew cab don't make a difference to me. I just needed a little bit extra room back there in case we had passengers and in case I threw something back there to haul. I got plenty of that in that Super Cab. I don't need all these extra doors because that would take away to where if I put a long bed on this truck, I would have to be concerned about backing into trailer spots and having the maneuverability to get into some really tight spots. I have actually backed into some locations with the trailer that have required me to drive my front of my vehicle into other RV camping spots to get the trailer in place. And that's with a small trailer. That's with our trailer, it's only 24 foot. So I can't imagine, you know, with a 30-foot trailer, or our new one's real close to 30 foot, and a much longer vehicle, you know, how much more difficult that would have been, because we have been in some really tight spots with that other trailer. So one of the things I can tell you for sure in the truck, again, the auto stop start feature, major pain in the butt. I don't like it. I don't think that it saves that much on gas, and I would think that it would be more refined than what it is. It really feels as if somebody's turning it off and then cranking it and starting it when you get ready to go again. And I'm just not into that. I like some of the newer cars that are small engines that have, you know, a much better system of starting it whenever it's time to roll. And you can't even tell. You can hardly tell that the vehicle shut off. You can't hardly tell that the vehicle has restarted again. But this one, you can definitely tell. It feels like somebody's turning it off and turning it on again. It's an unsettling feeling. And I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say something about the way that it feels and how I feel about that. But when it comes right down to it, the safest drivers are the ones that are the most comfortable. And you have to be comfortable to drive safe. You can't feel as if you're overwhelmed by what you're doing. And I think with this truck being as light-footed as it is, that you would definitely feel that when you're towing, you would be a little bit on the white knuckle side. You would be a little bit more less comfortable driving. And that's a feel, that's a seat of the pants feel that can only be experienced once you're hooked up and going down the road. Now, with my experience of towing trailers, I can definitely tell you that my old F-150 did the job, and even though I knew that truck like the back of my hand, it definitely wasn't a great feeling towing that RV. Even at 5,500 pounds, it just wasn't a great feeling. It did it, but I didn't like the way it felt. As soon as I hooked it up to our new, at that time, 97 F250, or new to us, I felt totally different. I felt so confident, and it was not an overconfidence. It just was a sure-footedness that the heavier chassis truck and the heavier suspension gave me. And of course, heavier brakes too. So the truck has a really good feel, a really confident feel as far as acceleration goes. A lot of that has to do with how long the vehicle is. You know, everything's still staying under control, enough weight that the tires are staying planted. They're not, you know, spinning and putting you sideways or anything like that. And they do have a lot of torque reduction that's built into the computer system. But here we are, we're just traveling along. Let me get a little bit slower here. Right now I'm at 40 miles an hour, and I'm going to see if I can do just a little quick burst here. Here we go. 50, 60. I mean, it was really quick. You heard how fast I rattled that off. Very, very quick. The truck has a definite lightness to it. I've owned cars that have weighed more than this truck does, and it has a decent amount of horsepower and torque. The braking's really good on this truck. Nope, we're not going to be able to come to a dead stop, but 40, 50, 60, again, very, very good response. Feels very comfortable. There's no feeling of being out of control or anything like that. This is the stuff that the computers have really brought into play on these newer trucks that you couldn't do with old trucks. Either you had horsepower and your control was done with your foot and your steering, and maybe shifting, riding the clutch a little bit, or you had not a lot of power and you had to tap everything out of it using those same techniques, basically, you know, shifting, rowing through gears, being able to shift quickly. But these new ones just know how to take care of what's available underneath the hood. With that said, you can get a tuner and make it even better, or put a supercharger on it and make it even better than that. But we're talking about towing and the truck's ability to tow and power. And a lot of people say, horsepower, you know, drag race, acceleration, that don't, you know, translate into towing ability. And they're right, it don't necessarily translate into towing ability, but I have never seen a vehicle that has been an awesome highway tower that doesn't have horsepower and can't accelerate. Because honestly, that's what people want whenever they're towing, is to be able to hook up whatever they want on the back and go up whatever hill or pull out into traffic and get going up to speed relatively quick. Now, whether you have a trailer on the back or no trailer on the back, acceleration is still a major component of getting that done. And of course, horsepower is something that is a nicety, but torque is where it's all about. And this truck has a decent amount of torque. Again, I like my F250 because it has more torque. And not only that, but again, not beating an old horse, which I am, the chassis, the suspension, the brakes are all made to haul. That's not necessarily what this truck was designed to do. This truck was designed to haul people comfortably and sometimes haul freight or tow trailers. And if they are towing trailers or hauling freight or cargo in the back, it's not that much. It wasn't designed to be that much. So that's the differences that I really noticed with the two trucks, and what I feel about owning an F150 versus an F250, especially when towing. Now, I don't want anybody to get upset, and sure, in the comments down below I'm going to hear plenty how capable these trucks are, what Ford rates them at, what you can do, what I've done. I've heard all that before, where people say, oh, I've got an F150 just like that one, and I've got the 3.5 EcoBoost, and I've got the max tow package, and I can tow my fifth wheel that weighs 27,000 pounds or whatever. I really understand that people push their trucks to the limits, and they like to brag about that stuff. But when it comes down to safety and towing every day for many, many, many miles, do you really want to be pushing anything? And the reason that I say this is because as a mechanic, I know that whenever you start pushing vehicles, you start exposing their weaknesses. And although the truck might have a good power plant, a good transmission, if you make that thing run at a temperature that's always right at its peak, you're going to start noticing a drop-off in performance, and you're going to start also noticing an increase in repairs. So again, as everybody said in a recap of this video too, if you're over 6,000 pounds and you're towing a trailer, occasionally you might be able to get away with an F-150. If you're over 6,000 pounds and you're towing that RV quite a bit, and I'm talking about a 6,000 pound RV towing, you definitely want to get into something bigger. Under 6,000 pounds, that was true with my F-150 from 1995, and that is true today. The trucks, even though the ratings have changed, the horsepower has gotten better, it's still the platforms, and as far as the springs, you know, they're pretty much the same. The springs tell the story, the brakes tell the story, the frame size tells the story. Your frame is only so big, the springs are only so thick, and the brakes are only so round in diameter and big in size and being able to apply force to stop you. With those things in mind, that's going to make a big difference in towing. So basically, I can't wait to get my F250 back. Even though I'm not towing, I sure do like that thing. And as far as its ability to make me feel comfortable when I'm driving, it's going to bounce me around until I get a trailer on it, and then I feel really comfortable. So as always, guys, I hope to see you out there. Bye.